कर दो। Hi all of you, good afternoon, online and offline. So a meeting after quite some time now. Yeah, online students, good afternoon. Ashish, Pujita, Preeti, Kumari, Himanshu, Soumya, all of you, good afternoon. Offline also. So we had a bit of disruption for approximately now 10 odd days. Diwali थी लंबी हो गई हमारी. Okay. So Diwali, then बड़ी छोटी भाई दूज, धनतेरस और दिवाली हमने नेक्स्ट ईयर के मना लिया एक साथ. Okay, so it's done at one go. Yeah, it has disrupted my schedule. But I have to work harder to put it back on track. So, some of you are joining me today with the new module. That's how we planned the sessions. One module ends and there are some entry points for other module. So, all the new students, online and offline, welcome, join us. And so what we are doing, okay, so we are in this continuing relay modules. The last one which I should have completed is Biogeography and Environment. I need about 6-7 odd classes for this. The last topic I have done is Biogeographical realms. It's on me, so I'll see how I'll pace that. But today, because I'm already late by almost a week now, so we'll start off with Oceanography. And maybe on some days, I'll see if I can do some of it today itself. Half an hour, 45 minutes mein, I'll try covering these portions also. Okay, so manage a bit for some days. We hope to set it right eventually. Hi Maithili, good afternoon. Ravina, Ashish, Avnish, okay. Good afternoon. Chalo, let's get on. Yeah, we have changed some things about us in the last couple of this one. Yes. Acha, one more misinformation from my side last time was about your climatology ka test, right? I thought it was not on, but then I was told that you are all informed about the test already. So how many of you gave your test? Raise your hand. Okay, 10-15 of you maybe have given the test. ठीक है, जो नहीं test दिए हैं, okay, give your test back in your room, whatever you can, and submit your answers today. Okay, so we'll not give you time beyond this. And this Saturday, we'll have another test of climatology. Okay, so the remaining topics, whatever we have been left, I think we have not had test of second part ho chuka hai, nahi hua hai. We had test of which first part, right? So the test coming Saturday will be topics of air masses, fronts, jet streams. Jet streams ho gaya, fine. Climatic classification, topics of climate change, topics related to cyclones. Because whatever was not in test 1 will be in your test 2. Again, same 4 or 5 questions to write down as a proper answer. It's not visible. Why? Okay, Dinesh, I think we had put up the marks of the last one. दोबारा करा देंगे, ठीक है? Okay, fine, fine. Okay, so let's start off with oceanography, the beginning that we have. So, oceanography is again among the relatively easier topics, not a tough one, but it's very contemporary. It is very contemporary. It is very current affair based, topics of marine pollution, topics related to climate change and warming of the ocean waters. You all have heard about El Nino, La Nina, okay, disruptions. Plus oceans also have tremendous amount of resources, energy resources, mineral resources, biological, biotic resources like fishing. And oceans are also part of our concerns on security. Okay, we have this Indo-Pacific strategy of India and some other countries, problems related to straits, the trade routes. You all have heard about Malacca Strait and the concerns there. So oceans काफी news में होते हैं. They are always in news. Questions are not tough, but you must keep on updating the content, particularly those linked to environment, linked to economy, and linked to topics of security. Okay? So that way it's important. Every year you can have 1 or 2 questions on this. Your reference book for oceanography is Oceanography by Savindra Singh. So all of you must have the 4 core books of Savindra Singh. Geomorphology Savindra Singh, Climatology Savindra Singh, Oceanography Savindra Singh, and Environment Geography. As you all have a book list with you, okay? So you must buy this specialized book. इसके अलावा whatever current affairs you need, we will provide you with that. Last Friday we gave you the list of, okay, तो उसमें दिक्कत होनी नहीं चाहिए. And your NCERT book is very nice for oceanography के most topics. NCERT class 11th, okay, the fundamentals of physical geography, it's a very nice book. In fact, the diagrams I'll suggest are good in NCERT compared to Savindra Singh. The diagrams on temperature patterns, ocean bottom relief, the diagrams related to the resource regions. So ये काफी अच्छा है NCERT में. So keep these 2 books for reference, and whatever else you need, I'll be helping you with the class notes. ठीक है? Okay. Your syllabus has ocean bottom relief. It has ocean temperature, ocean salinity, ocean currents. It also includes coral reefs. It includes ocean deposits, ocean resources, and topics जो applied dimensions हैं, which is a topic called as UNCLOS. UNCLOS is one of those international treaties we have to manage the ocean waters in navigation, ocean water for resources and so on. So broadly, this is the a list of your syllabus. Most questions asked are on topics of currents, salinity, coral reefs, and resources. पे ये 4 पे most questions are asked. Okay, we'll take care of those. No, see, for PYQs there are question banks and there are answers compilations. My recommendation is buy the question bank, not the answers. Okay. Though some answers have come up as booklet forms, but I personally have not seen all of them. I will not comment on them. Whatever answers you need will help you with that. End of every module, we do give you some answers, 10-15 of them to practice and revise also. So don't buy the compilation of the model answers. You buy the compilation of the questions. Or वैसे भी don't buy, it's free on the Edukemy website and download from there itself. ठीक है? So don't have to, and in fact I've shared the entire compilation on the Telegram also. I'll do that again if you want. So don't buy, I mean, we'll give that to you eventually. You buy the textbook and be with me on the syllabus. Okay, let's start off. The first topic is ocean bottom relief. Ocean bottom relief. This topic is important both for GS and also for optional. Okay, almost same content hoga with some minor changes. I'll let you know where. Okay, ocean bottom relief. So what does ocean bottom relief means? Essentially, we are studying the ocean bottom topography. What are the landforms of the oceans? What are the features of the oceans? Where do we have islands? Where do we have mountains? Where do we have depressions? Where do we have basins? This topic is somewhat related to the topic called as tectonics. Some of you have done this. Others, you have some basic ideas as a part of initiation. Again, whatever you might need, I'll explain while I'm discussing. Okay? So, no worries, we'll manage. Okay, not a heavy dose, but you need some idea about tectonics. Okay? Ocean bottom relief. Let's start off. Now, if you look at the Earth's surface, when I say Earth's surface, I'm ignoring the water for now. Okay. So, this is the continent, there's the ocean, another continent, another ocean. This is the water here, this is the water here. The elevations are higher, okay, and we have the floor of the oceans. Then again, the continents are higher elevations, and again we have the floor of the oceans. So if you look at the Earth's surface comprises outer most layer, and what do we call this layer as? We call this as the Earth's crust. Keep writing as I speak. Some of you joining me new, like I'll dictate when required, but don't miss any points while I am discussing some issues, okay? So I'm saying the Earth's surface comprises, it is made up of an outermost layer. The outermost layer is called as the Earth's crust. This Earth's crust, it is the thinnest layer. The Earth's crust is a relatively a cooler layer. The Earth's crust is a relatively less dense, इसीलिए बाहर है. The more dense, the more heavy ones are inside the Earth. Okay, the Earth's surface comprises of the outermost layer called as the crust. The crust is the thinnest layer. The crust is relatively the cooler layer, and the Earth's crust is also less dense. हल्का है. It is less dense, and this Earth's crust is not uniform and homogeneous. इसमें बहुत सारे variations हैं. The Earth's crust is not uniform. It is not homogeneous in terms of composition, in terms of properties. The Earth's crust is highly variable. So what we do is, the Earth's crust can be divided into two types of crust. Okay, the Earth's crust can be divided into, I said, two types of crust. We have the continental crust that makes up the continent, and we have the oceanic crust that makes up the floor of the oceans. Okay, एक old idea था that continents, wherever continents have become a bit more deeper, okay, those depressions have accumulated water. So whatever rocks we have here are also the rocks here. It's just that these rocks or this floor is covered by water. We say ये idea गलत है. Okay, the oceans, the layer which makes the ocean, it is different from the layer that makes the continents. These are two different layers. The oceans are not the submerged extensions of the continents. Okay, the oceans are not submerged extensions of the continents. Ocean crust has different type of rocks, it has different type of composition, it has different type of properties. So the crust is two types of crust. It's not simply that कि यही continent has become basin depression and it is having water. ऐसा नहीं है. The continent on this side, अगर ये continent है, this continent is very different from the rocks which make up the floor of the oceans. The rocks that make up the continents, they are very different from the rocks that make up the floor of the oceans. I said the oceans are not extensions of the continent. The oceans are not a submerged part of the continents. The difference क्या है? So quickly some facts some of you know. We have the continental crust and we have the oceanic crust. Okay, the continental crust is made up of rocks like andesite. It is made up of rocks like granite. It is made up of rocks like rhyolite. A very common rock is diorite. The continents also have lot of sedimentary rocks. ठीक है? The continents are made up of rocks called as andesite, A-N-D-E-S-I-T-E. They're made up of andesite rocks. They're made up of granitic rocks. They're made up of rhyolite, one more type. Just know the names, okay? Some of you might know what they are, but for now, just the names are enough. Rhyolite is one type of a rock. A very common rock found in the interiors of the continents is called as a diorite or diorite, D-I-O-R-I-T, diorite, and it is made up of sedimentary rocks. The oceans are very different. The oceans are made up of basalt. Okay, basalt by nature is more dense. Basalt is one type of a rock called as a mafic rock. ये rocks को हम क्या बोलते हैं? We call these rocks as felsic rocks. Those who have not heard the terms, कोई बात नहीं. You just write down the terms. There's not much of science that we should know on this. Just know the names. The continents are made up of felsic rocks. The continents are made up of not basalt. The oceans are made up of basalt, and basalt is one type of rock called as mafic rock. And just know this, कि ocean crust में we do not have sedimentary rocks formations. It's not common. हो भी सकता है, but it's not common. Sedimentary rocks like sandstone, like limestone, sedimentary rocks like shale. These rocks are not common, or you can almost say almost absent as a part of the oceanic crust. Okay, so that's one difference, that their two rocks are different in terms of their composition. Then the continents are lighter, halka hai, lighter, with an average density of about 2.5. The oceanic crust is more dense, the continents are lighter. The density of continents about 2.5, whereas oceans, I said, they are denser with an average density of about 3.5. Oceans are denser, continents are lighter, halka hota hai. Okay. Continents are thicker. They are more thick. They are thicker. Their thickness, the thickness can be more than 30 kilometers. In some places, more than 60 kilometers ka thickness ho sakta hai. And where there is lot of mountains, the thickness sometimes can also be as much as 80 kilometers also. On average, we can say the continents are thicker than 30 kilometers. Whereas oceans, they are not as thick. Oceans generally are about 1 to 2 kilometers thick. In some places, they may be around 3 kilometers thick. Continents are thicker, oceans are far more thinner. That's why when I was drawing that diagram, मैंने ऐसे दिखाया, I have shown the continents as thicker, is ज़्यादा thickness hai. Okay, and oceans I have shown as they are much more thinner. Okay, the continents are thicker, the oceans are thinner. Yes, you're right, correct. This is, don't bother now, but for those who know, theek hai, this is part of what is called as isostatic adjustments hai ye. If you know, fine, otherwise don't bother. Why are continents thicker? Why are oceans thinner? It's part of a mechanism called as isostatic adjustments. Isostatic adjustments. Okay? So that's about the ocean thickness. Then in terms of properties, the continents are harder. They are more brittle. They're harder. The continents are also more basic, whereas oceans are relatively softer, and oceans are continents are not basic, continents are relatively more acidic, correct, acidic to intermediate. Oceans are basic, continents are more acidic to intermediate values, whereas oceans are basic. Oceans are basic. Okay. Yes, correct. They are softer. They are softer implies that these are more deformable. These are more deformable. Continents, on the other hand, are relatively harder. Of course, remember, continents में जहाँ पर sedimentary rocks होंगे, of course, those areas are relatively softer. I'm making a general statement, does not mean it is same hardness everywhere. Doesn't mean same softness everywhere. It's generalization. Relatively, in general, continents are harder, but wherever there are sedimentary rocks, soft rocks, of course, those areas will be relatively softer. Okay. Now, one more important fact about the difference of the crust is that the ocean crust, it is a more fundamental. Ocean crust is more fundamental. What I mean by this is that ocean crusts were the beginnings of the Earth's crust. जो भी शुरुआत हुआ है अर्थ क्रस्ट का, the beginnings is the ocean crust. The ocean crust is more fundamental. The ocean crust is the beginnings of the evolution of the Earth's crust. The ocean crust is the beginnings of the evolution of the Earth's crust. Earth's crust. But then ocean crust can be recycled and can be destroyed. Ocean crust are more fundamental, but ocean crust को recycle किया जा सकता है. Ocean crust can be destroyed. Okay, so some of us know a mechanism called as the process of subduction. Okay, subduction में क्या होता है? The ocean crust goes inside the mantle, it melts and it gets destroyed. Okay, so ocean crust fundamental है, but can be recycled. On the other hand, the continent crust was formed by the differentiation of the ocean crust. Continents जो है ocean से बनता है. Okay, continent crust are formed by the differentiation. The word differentiation means something gets separated. Okay, the continent's crust are formed because of differentiation of the ocean's crust, and continent crust are not recycled. Okay, continents we say are forever. Continents once formed, they are not recyclable, they are not capable of being destroyed. So continents in general क्या होता है? In time, continent size increases. Like write down within bracket mention. Therefore, through geological history, okay, the quantum of continental rocks have increased. The quantum of continental rocks have increased. Okay. So continents का जो total amount है, by the way, say this is the earth here, this was the continent. It's possible the continent can break, it's possible they can fuse, but as time goes, the total amount of continent rocks can increase. Maybe you come to a stage, okay, where, okay, after a couple of billion years, maybe continents टूट के छोटा-छोटा हो गया. That's possible. But if you add up the total amount of continents, the total rocks will be more than what it was earlier. So they can break, they can shatter, they can fuse, they can drift. वो अलग बात है. But if you add up, if the total amount of continent was maybe X amount of continent, even if they are broken, if you add up all of this, then this amount is far more than what existed earlier. So continents are forever. Continents once formed, the rocks don't get destroyed. The continents, therefore, okay, keep on increasing in their absolute amount. Okay, write down here. Some of the इसी के point में, some of the oldest rocks are largely continental sedimentary metamorphosed rocks. Some of the oldest rocks are continental sedimentary metamorphosed rocks. Okay, so we have found some rocks in parts of Canada, parts of Antarctica. We have found some rocks in some of the pockets which we call as cratons. The rocks are as old as 2 billion years old, 3 billion years old, 3.5 billion years old. So continents once formed, they remain, they don't get destroyed, and therefore they are some of the oldest rocks that we have. Metamorphosed, what it means? It means some kind of transformation. Okay, there were some rocks that have got transformed, which have mean completely, change in terms of the composition, the types. So one type of rocks, okay, are called as metamorphic rocks. So continents have lot of sedimentary metamorphosed rocks. All fine, all of you here? So basic idea about the oceans. So our conclusion here is that the oceans are therefore structurally different from the continents and continental rocks. Oceans are structurally different from the continents and the continental rocks. Yeah, amount, quantity. Yeah, Kirti. Saif, we'll not enter discussions of tectonics. We don't need it right now. Okay, we'll do it when we take up topics of geomorphology. Yes, volcanism is responsible, drift is responsible, and so on. Yeah. Okay, now, some of the important landforms and the features of the ocean floor. Some of the important landforms and features of the ocean floor. Yes, Sambhavi, you're right. That's what it means. The continents, okay, they are forever. They don't get destroyed. Okay, unlike oceans, which can be subducted and destroyed. Udeshil, maybe about 1.5 page is what you can leave and continue with what I'm teaching now. All good, fine here? So some of the important landforms that you should know. Okay, like I said, details as part of geomorphology, but some idea you must have. So one very important landform is the mid-oceanic ridge. The mid-oceanic ridge, also called as the MORs. The mid-oceanic ridges, also called as the MORs. Okay, as the name suggests, they are on the ocean floor, on the ocean deeps, and they are like continuous mountain chains. Okay, they are across all oceans, including we also have a more in the Arctic Ocean also. So हर ocean में ये है, Indian Ocean में, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, it's part of Arctic Ocean. They are continuous mountain chain. I use the word ridge because they are not as high as some of the mountains we have on the continents. Okay, but they also are fairly high. Okay, and they are across all oceans. And these ridge systems, they are the consequence of ocean crust divergence and associated volcanism. They are the consequence of ocean crust divergence and the associated volcanism. What I mean by this, that if this is the ocean floor, for some reasons, under the oceans, there are certain type of magma moving which can pull the ocean floor apart. Okay, this is called as mantle convection cells. This also is the mantle convection cells. This is stretching going on. This is a stretching of the ocean floor is going on because these cells, this is volcanic matter. It can pull the ocean like this. It can pull the ocean like this. There is stretching of the ocean floor going on. Because of the stretching, the ocean floor can break. Okay, ऐसे टूट जाएगा. The ocean floor can break. It's broken now. Because of this, okay, this is the convection cell. Convection cell, some lava can come out and accumulate here. Some lava can come out and accumulate here. So this is what becomes the MOR systems. Okay? Draw this diagram. Small, quick, representative sketches. There is mantle convection cells. The mantle convection cells can stretch the ocean floor. As they stretch, okay, there can be, so this is the volcanic accumulation. These accumulations are basalt accumulations, and they are the ones which become the mid-ocean ridges. Basalt accumulations becoming the mid-ocean ridges. So online में तो problem नहीं हो रहा होगा. Offline students, बीच में you hear about, okay, somebody getting emotional. Okay, essentially above our floor there is a gym. Okay, so those who can't make their brains, they make their bodies. Okay, कहीं ना कहीं तो muscle बनना चाहिए, ठीक है? I'm not saying you can't. Of course you can. Okay, but otherwise, those making bodies will make brains, so मुश्किल होता है. Okay, God doesn't give so much of liberty. You decide what you can do there. So when they're trying, they drop the dumbbells or the weights. Okay, औकात साथ उठा लिया तो छोड़ देंगे और क्या. So don't get emotional कि आसमान टूट रहा है types. ठीक है. So offline guys, online don't bother. आपके छत के ऊपर जो भी है वो ठीक ही होगा. ठीक है. Problem is in ORN में people come with an ambition, then they discover कि यार भटक गए हैं. Okay, they come with ambitions. सुबह बता रहे थे that we want to make a rocket to the space. Then discover here कि multiplication table आता नहीं है. Okay, that they want to change the world, and then they discover world का spelling पता नहीं है. Okay, so those slowly move towards let us make our body कम से कम. ठीक है, आए हैं तो कुछ तो बना के जाएं. Okay, आर्यन वो अलग species हैं, you can't fight them. Okay, let's get back. So what are MORs? I said MORs. They are continuous mountain chains. They're across all oceans. They are formed because of ocean crust divergence and volcanism. So MORs essentially are accumulations of ocean basalt. They're accumulations of ocean basalt. So if I draw a perspective diagram on this, the MOR would look something, okay, like this. This is a continuous mountain chain. So that's what a MOR looks like. Okay, everywhere there is a convection cell here, lava coming out here, lava is coming out here, lava comes out here, lava comes out here. Okay. And this accumulation is the basalt accumulation that becomes the MOR. A MOR looks like a continuous mountain range, a continuous mountain ridge, okay, which is basalt accumulations. Fine. Achha, now, because lava is coming out here and lava is accumulating, so we say MOR is the location of, the MOR is the location of, okay, ocean crust creation. These some facts without getting trouble too much. You just write these points down. The more are the locations of the ocean crust formation. Ocean crust formation. So this is where we have young oceans forming. यहीं पर ocean बनता है. When I say ocean बनता है, I don't mean the water. I mean the ocean floor बन रहा है. Okay, it is the location of ocean crust formation. It is the location of ocean floor formation. Okay, it has the youngest ocean rocks. Okay, at the ocean floor. The more has the youngest ocean rocks at the ocean floor. अच्छा, इसके अलावा because this is a crack. I mean, you look at the diagram. Essentially, क्या ये crack gap है, and this gap is a continuous gap like this. पूरा crack है. So along the more, one important feature is that mores are associated with an axial rift valley. ये important feature है. They are associated with an axial rift valley. Okay, axial rift valley, as in there's a continuous crack here. This is a rift. Rift as in it's a break, it's a split on the floor. It's a continuous rift valley. It's an axial rift valley. इसके अलावा, there's one more thing, that the more is also having rift valleys which are across the more. So more actually is not continuous like this. So some of you again know this. If you look at the more, we imagine the more is continuous like this, और ये ocean floor है. That's our imagination. In reality, ऐसा नहीं होता है. In reality, this more itself is kind of, let me draw this for all of you. Can you imagine like this now? Actually, the more is not continuous. ये ऐसे भी कटा हुआ है. So this is what's called as transverse, okay, faults. The more actually is not continuous like this. It's like somebody has cut the more, okay, and sliced it. एक और point लिखो आप, that the more is also characterized by transverse faults. The more is also characterized by transverse faults. Transverse faults. Within bracket, okay. These fracture zones, these are fracture zones. These fracture zones actually make the mores discontinuous. The fracture zones actually make the mores discontinuous. So I began the conversation by saying that they are continuous. Now I say कि नहीं, ये ऐसे भी कटे हुए हैं. They have also been sliced like this. They also have been sliced like this. We call this as transverse faults. So mores have axial rift valley. The mores also have transverse, okay, faults and rifts. Why all of this? ये why वाला part हम छोड़ देंगे अभी. Okay, I'm just discussing what the floor looks like. The why part is part of tectonics of geomorphology. Some of you know that. Others I ultimately will teach and you'll have a hang of it. For now, we leave it. Yes, you're right. And E point add kar lo. At some locations, the more volcanic rocks, at some locations, the more volcanic rocks can accumulate and can get exposed above the water. The more volcanic rocks can accumulate and can get exposed above the water as islands. As islands. Okay. In general, these moors are under the water. But कुछ जगह में क्या होगा? The lava can accumulate, can pile up, and it can come out as small islands along the moor. जैसे कि if you know about Indian Ocean में, in the Indian Ocean, you may have heard about a group of islands called as Chagos Islands. ये Chagos Islands के अंदर we have got Diego Garcia. Okay. Garcia is one of the naval bases of UK, US, yes. So Diego Garcia or Chagos Islands, these are essentially the volcanic accumulations of the Indian Ocean moor. They are the volcanic accumulations of the Indian Ocean moor system. वैसे Atlantic Ocean में we have a group of islands called as Azores Islands. Okay. They are part of Portugal. An island called as Azores, Azores, Azores Island in Portugal, of Portugal, and they also are part of Atlantic moor. The Azores are a part of the Atlantic Ocean moor system. The point is that these moors can accumulate, and form islands also. They can form islands also. Okay? So that's a small description of what moors are. That's one fact. Okay. The second important landform of the oceans are trenches. What are moors and what are trenches? Okay. Now, trenches are massive. They are massive, a valley like depressions, but are actually gaps formed due to a subduction of ocean crust into the mantle. Likho please all of you. They are massive valley-like depressions, but they are actually not valleys. The massive valley-like depressions, but they actually are gaps. The gaps formed due to subduction of ocean crust into the mantle. Formed due to subduction of ocean crust into the mantle. What I mean by this is, say, this is one ocean floor. This is another ocean floor. Okay. For some reasons, there is a convection cell. Mantle mein lava is moving like this. In the previous one I had drawn, I had shown the lava was coming out like this. Now I am showing the lava is going inside. Okay. Rather than going out, the lava is going in. Because of this, the ocean can also be pulled inside. So when pulled inside, the ocean floor gets dragged like this. Okay. तो ये वाला gap रह जाता है. This gap is what's called as a trench. तो दिखने में तो it looks like a valley, but actually ये gap है. And this gap is where the ocean is going inside the mantle. We call that process as subduction process. This is called as ocean or floor subduction. Subduction means the ocean floor is getting pulled inside the mantle. It is sinking inside the mantle. And the gap remains. It's called as a trench. Okay? So just like we said that more is a location where the ocean crust is forming. Trench is location where the ocean crust is getting destroyed. Write down. The trenches are locations where the ocean crusts are getting destroyed. There's a point I made, right? The ocean crusts are recycled. वो कहीं बनते भी हैं, they are formed, and somewhere they get destroyed. They again are formed, they again get destroyed, and that's how the ocean crust is getting recycled. The trenches are locations of ocean crust destructions. Okay. There are two features, sit down. There are two features associated with any trench. There are two features associated with any trench. कोई भी trench के साथ में there are two features associated. One is something called as accretionary prism. Accretionary prism. ACCRETIONARY prism. ये क्या है? This is the scraped sediments and the rocks of the subducting ocean slab. These are the scraped sediments and the scraped rocks of the subducting ocean slab. So it's like I've got two layers here of ocean. The ocean will have its own sediment का layer होगा इसके ऊपर, sediments of layers. There can be small rocks here. So when the ocean is subducting inside, the other slab is scraping. ऐसे scrape कर रहा है. It's scraping, and the sediments of the subducting slab can get plastered on the other slab. So it's like this is the ocean. This is the ocean. The ocean can have sediments. The ocean can have sediments here. Okay. The ocean can have sediments here. Okay. The ocean can have some landforms and rocks here. The ocean can have some sediments and rocks here. So when there is collision going on, okay, say this floor goes inside. So if this floor starts subducting inside here, okay, the sediments of this one, so we have these sediments here, we have these rocks here, but when subduction happens, these orange, beige, black sediments, they will accumulate here. So they start accumulating on this side. Okay, they start accumulating on this side. So ये वाला जो है, this is called as the accretionary prism. So sediments and the rocks of the subducting slab can get scraped, okay, forming the accretionary prism. Is it okay, all of you here? Uttam, I'm ignoring all those questions of yours. Okay. जिसका भी curiosity है, क्यों है, कैसा है, I said park that for, okay, topics of geomorphology. Those who know it, okay, I hope you remember it. Okay, at least act that you remember it. And those who don't know it, no worries. I'll come back and I'll teach you. So this is one important feature called as accretionary prisms. Within bracket, write down that the accretionary prism sediments, the accretionary prism sediments eventually accumulate and form fold mountains of different types. They eventually accumulate and they form fold mountains of different types. Different types or depends on, okay, where are these trenches formed. Okay? So one feature I said is prism. The second feature of any trench will be again volcanism. जहां पर भी ट्रेंच होगा वहां पर volcanism पास में होगा. Okay, volcanism, but remember this, that the trench volcanism is different from the MOR volcanism. The trench volcanisms are different from the MOR volcanism. So if you remember this now, I बताया आपको, I have got ocean floor, I have got this more mountain-like formation. Okay, so this is one type of volcanic accumulation, and this is made up of what? Basalt. Made up of basalt. This is associated with, okay, the rising molten rocks of the mantle. But if you look at the trenches, ये trench है. The trench is because there is sinking molten rocks of mantle. So when this slab is going down, okay, this slab starts melting, and this molten one will come out as volcanism on this part here. Okay, so in case of a MOR, it is the mantle lava coming out. In case of trench, you ocean melt होके बाहर आ रहा है. Okay, so this lava is not same as this type of lava. The volcanism at the trenches are different from the volcanism at the MOR. कैसे? 2-3 points. That the trench volcanisms are because of, the trench volcanism is because of melting of the subducting ocean floor. The trench volcanism is because of the melting of the subducting ocean floor. Okay? So I hope you can realize this. This lava coming out from the mantle is not same as the lava coming out where the ocean floor is sinking down. तो इसका अलग composition होगा. Okay, and this lava is andesite lava. This lava is what? This is basalt. Trench वाला lava कैसा होता है? It is andesite lava. Trenches lava are andesites. And as a rule, wherever we have andesite lava, the volcanism will be very powerful eruptions. They are more damaging. They are more violent. Okay, so trench volcanisms are andesite lava, and the trench volcanisms are more destructive. They are more powerful. They are more powerful. They are more destructive. Basalt are the very quiet ones. Basalt is not very powerful eruptions. Okay, that's one feature associated with, okay, the trench type of volcanism. So one feature of trenches are the accretionary prisms. The second type of features are trenches. ठीक है? अच्छा, now next point add करो that both accretionary prism and the trench volcanism have two possibilities. The trench volcanism and the accretionary prism have two possibilities. They can be far from the continent coast on the ocean floor. They can be far from the continent's coast on the deep ocean floor. That's one possibility. Or they can be along the continent coast. Watch here. So I'm saying, imagine continents are thicker. Okay. The ocean subduction is happening. This is the ocean floor which is thinner. Okay. Continents are 30, 40, 50 kilometers thick. Oceans are 1-2 kilometers thick. And away, ये coast है. Coast के बाहर, काफी दूर में, on the floor, I have a trench. On the floor, I can have a volcanism here. On the floor, I have this accretionary prism. This is case number 1. It can be away from the coast on the deep ocean floor, or I said they can be along the coast. This is the continent, ये ocean है. The ocean subducts, or on this side, there is another continent itself. There's no ocean here. Okay, this is the case B. This is away from the coast, a deep ocean floor में. This is near the continent का coast. This is a trench. इस case में क्या होगा? The volcanism happening here will pile up as volcanoes on the continents here. And the prism, ये जो prism यहाँ पर था, now the prism can be along the edge of the continents. These are the two possibilities we have while talking about the location of the trench. More हमेशा away from the coast on the deep floor होता है. The trench can be away from the coast or they can be near the coast. Draw the sketches, please. We don't need any great drawing skills. Just make sure your diagram is neat. It's neat and it is depicting what you want to show. Okay? Straight, simple lines. So, this is an example of, we'll talk about that in geomorphology. This happens when we have ocean, continent collision. Some of you know this. And this is when we have ocean collisions. So trenches can be at ocean collision locations. The trenches can be at ocean continent collision locations. The trenches can be near the coast. The trenches can be away from the coast. Yeah, exactly. This is for those who have done geomorphology, should be more like a revision. But then, okay, I'm assuming that, okay, you remember it and you can recall. All fine here? So I have taught you what are MORs, what is MOR. I've explained what are trenches. I've explained what type of volcanism exists. What do you mean by accretionary prism? And we have talked about the nature of the ocean crust. Any questions on this, anybody? 4 or 5 topics we've covered right now. What are MORs? What are trenches? What type of volcanism associated? What is accretionary prisms? And the nature of the ocean crust. All good? Which one is more powerful? The ones that we have at the continents, I mean, in terms of eruptions, both can be powerful, but यहाँ पर कुछ और extra factors भी होता है, so this may ultimately have more destruction than the other one, but they are comparable in some ways. Case B is tricky. No, the earth can do it, no problem. Don't doubt that. समझने में tricky है तो बताओ क्या problem हो रहा है? How to join the course? You are already in the course. या आप कैसे? Tell me आप घुसे कैसे हो? That's my question now. Yeah, some of you are from YouTube, no problem. ठीक है. This morning I was talking to somebody, you know, when with this, all this social media platforms, Telegram, YouTube, Facebook, and all the mediums, somebody was commenting, sir, education has got democratized. I said, no, there's this fine difference there. Ambitions have got democratized. Now everybody feels that, yes, even I can have ambitions. And that's a very nice thing. You're from a remote area, you're from a city, a village area, whatever your background is, it doesn't matter. All of you can dream for the same type of achievements. All of you can dream for better careers in life. Okay, but a difference है, the ability has not been democratized. While your ambitions में भी हाँ मुझे बनना है, but एक और story है, उसके लिए काम भी करना पड़ता है. ठीक है? So on the YouTube, on the Facebook, for heaven's sake, don't study from there without knowing what you must follow. Okay, it's all there, but you must know कि ढूंढना कहाँ पर है. So welcome. I hope I don't trivialize your ambitions, but a bit more realistic. Yes, Sachrit, वो सब words हम अभी उठाएंगे नहीं. You know that the terms good. Any doubts, anybody offline, online, anybody? Any questions? All fine? The new students, some of you, I hope you can keep pace with me. Okay, even if no, say yes. Okay. मैंने आपका आंसर नहीं दिया. निधि बताओ क्या क्वेश्चन था? Okay. If your question was relevant, I would have answered. I missed it. बताओ क्या क्वेश्चन है? Repeat your question. Chagos Islands. हाँ बताओ. Yes. So the hotspots are the ones which ultimately become MORs. The hotspots ultimately become divergent boundaries. वो part क्यों भूल गए आप? So Chagos Islands or Azores, you can study those as both. You can study those as hotspot volcanisms, and you can also study those as, okay, as islands along the MOR. Not every hotspot becomes a MOR, but every MOR must have started from the hotspot. ठीक है? कह दिया, लिख लो, देखा जाएगा बाद में. Fine. So now, take a fresh page. A zonation of the ocean floor. The zonation of the ocean floor. So we had two scholars, Thurman and Turillo. They classify the ocean floor into certain zones. Okay, the Thurman and Turillo's zonation of the ocean floor. Okay, so don't write, first listen to this. What they're saying is, if this is the continent here, okay, the continent here, and say this is the ocean crust, that's a more here, there is some trench here, this is the ocean water. Ocean floor is not exactly equal to ocean crust. Okay, दोबारा सुनो. Ocean floor क्या है? Ocean floor यहाँ, because all part under the water ocean floor. तो ये भी ocean floor है, ये भी ocean floor है, ये भी ocean floor है. Ocean floor is here, and ये भी ocean floor है, ये भी ocean floor है. ठीक है? The ocean floor. Ocean floor means the surface under the water. The ocean floor starts from here, okay, and it also includes the ocean floor here. The ocean floor is this part of the continent submerged, plus it's also the ocean crust. The important differentiation. Yes, the bulk of the ocean is ocean crust, but the entire ocean floor is not the ocean crust. So there is a part of the continent which has submerged. हालांकि छोटा part है. Okay, it's not the major part. The major part is this ocean floor is more than 75% of the ocean floor itself. This is the deeper one. But when I say ocean floor, I mean this part of the continent submerged, plus it includes the ocean deep plains and ocean crust also. So write down one line here. Ocean floor is the massive part of the Earth's surface, is the massive part of the Earth's surface submerged under the ocean waters. Submerged under the ocean waters. It includes number one, the ocean margins, which are structurally extensions of the continents. Ocean margins which are structurally extensions of the continents. And number two, it includes the deep ocean floor. It includes the deep ocean floor, which is structurally the basaltic ocean crust. Which is structurally the basaltic ocean crust. Is it okay? You can draw this diagram. Okay. So this whole thing is ocean floor. Ocean floor starts from here. Okay. The ocean floor is this entire floor here. ये पूरा ocean floor है. But ये ocean floor may be, I said, that this part along the margins is not same as this part which is the actual ocean crust. So this is the first type, the ocean के margins हैं, and second type which is the deep ocean floor. The ocean includes part of continents at the margins and also part of the ocean crust along the deep plains. ये क्या था प्रेमा guy missed your question. In case B, the lava moves through the continents. ये कौन सा B है मैं miss कर गया. Yes, Sanjeevani, I'll talk about that. Wait. All done? Okay. Next slide down. Thurman and Turillo, therefore, divided the ocean floor into Thurman and Turillo, therefore, divided the ocean floor into number one, the ocean margins. Number one, the ocean margins that include. So, number one is the ocean margins, and the ocean margin includes the continental shelf, it includes the continental slope, it includes the continental rise. Ocean margins के तीन part हैं, the continental shelf, the continental slope and the continental rise. ये rise जो है, this is actually a transition zone, okay, between the margins and the deep ocean plains. ये transition zone है, a very narrow transition zone, okay, between the margins and the deep ocean plains. That's one zone of the ocean. The second zone of the ocean is the deep abyssal plains. The deep abyssal plains. Abyssal matlab very deep. Okay, these are generally at depths of more than 4,000 meters and beyond. The deep abyssal plains. They are beyond the continental rise. Okay, this is the proper ocean crust. ये proper ocean crust है. Okay, and this deep abyssal plains has a variety of landforms and features. It has a variety of landform and features. It can include deep basins. It can include trenches. It can include abyssal hills, okay, etc. The proper crust, it has a variety of landforms and features. It includes the deep basins. It includes trenches, abyssal hills. It also includes some of the fracture zones. फ्लोर में कुछ cracks होते हैं. It also includes the fracture zones. Okay, and the third part of the ocean are the MORs. हालांकि MORs plains में ही है, but then Thurman-Turillo kept them different. Okay, so there are three zones of the oceans: the ocean margins, the abyssal plains, and the MORs. ठीक है? Okay, let's take a one by one. So most of you, I'm sure, have read this. You know this. The most common diagram that we have. Okay, so this is the surface of the water. Surface of water. Okay. We have this is the continental shelf. This one here is the continental slope. जहाँ पर sudden deep है, is called as the continental break. And there is a transition zone here. This is a zone of accumulation, sediments यहाँ पर हैं. The continental rise. And beyond the rise, is the abyssal plains with its more systems, trenches, and whatever other diversity. Drawing sketches, don't use any scale, no stencil, freehand sketches. I said keep it neat, straight smooth lines, label the diagrams, the zonation of the ocean floor according to Thurman and Turillo. एक और suggestion है, when you make a diagram, okay, don't make a very large diagram. Okay, generally the diagram should be good enough like 1/4 of a page. Okay, तो अगर ये आपका page है, if this is your page here with margins, okay, the size of diagram should be largely 1/4. Okay, more than this, you will take more time and your errors will exaggerate. Smaller than this, you can't show enough details. So when you make a diagram, I'm seeing some of you are occupying the entire half of a page. Okay, it takes more time. It will, okay, show more errors, okay, properly. Don't show that errors. So draw small ones. So whenever you make a diagram, so my suggestion is margins ऐसे हैं. To draw a diagram, put a box. Okay, this is the diagram approximately. So water level here. You show this, you show this, you show this. इतना काफी होता है आपका. You don't need to have diagrams bigger than this. A suggestion. Ultimately, do what you want. Okay. मेरे लिए आसान है, मैंने छोटा कर देना है ऐसे. Okay, so आपका जो हो गया सो हो गया. No, don't do that. Okay, I know online guys, offline guys, sometimes you take a screenshot. Screenshot का क्या करोगे आप? You have to draw. Okay, drawing, sketching is a necessary part of geography, maps. तो class में आदत डालो. These things don't happen afterwards. They either happen now or they don't happen at all. The reason, I told some of you, the reason why I teach like this, otherwise it's very easy for me to show you PPTs. Hey बच्चों देखो ये ocean की. If I don't draw, you will not draw. If I don't write, you will not write. Okay. So please, if I am spending time and drawing, you also draw. ये screenshot लेके फायदा नहीं है. Okay. Unless you want to accumulate all of this and start another coaching institute, वो अलग बात है. In that case, come and teach with me. Spend good 1 year getting trained. Okay. And move on now, one by one. Okay. अच्छा, by the way, बेटा सैलरी मैं निकालूंगा आपसे. ठीक है. पहले काम सीखोगे, सीखने का पैसा नहीं मिलता. मुझे सब सुनाई देता है. पापा मामा के कान होते हैं ना, कुछ चीज deliberately हमें सुनाई नहीं देता. Okay, come back here. So this is the continent. Okay, this is, don't draw this, you'll mess up. Just know this. This entire thing, ये पूरा continent है. Okay, and this is the narrow ocean crust. Continents are thicker. The oceans are thinner. The continents are andesitic rocks. They are lighter. They are harder. Oceans are thinner. They are basic. They are softer. They can be deformed. They can be recycled. The ocean floor has part continents and has part ocean crust. So whenever I mention ocean floor, you must be careful मैं किसको refer कर रहा हूँ. Am I referring the crust or am I referring the whole thing at the same time? ठीक है? Let's take up one by one. Some discussions on the continental shelf. No sentences, just know the keywords and keep jotting the keywords. Okay. The shelf, this is part of the continent rocks. This is the shallowest part of the ocean floor. This is generally up to water depth of 200 meters or 100, approximately 100 fathoms. This is predominantly continental rocks. It is the shallowest part of the ocean, सबसे कम depth होगा, and it extends up to the water depth of 200 meters or 100 fathoms. 100 fathoms. Okay, what I'm saying is, ये कहाँ तक है? Up to the location where, okay, the depth of water is 200 meters. इसके beyond, the water depth will keep on increasing now. So, within 200 meters, we call this as the continental shelf. It is up to a water depth of 200 meters or approximately 100 fathoms. And fathom is another unit of, okay, distance or length. Okay, that's one. It is gentle sloping. The slope is less than 1 degree ka slope. It is gentle sloping surface. It is less than 1 degree slope, and the shelf has accumulations of sediments brought from the continents. The shelves will have sediments that are brought from the continents. So when rivers come and drain here, the glaciers come and drain here, or the waves are interacting, so a lot of sediments of the continents will get piled up here. These are shallow deposits of the ocean floor, and the deposits have a continent origin. Okay, so they have sediments which have been brought from the continents. They have continent origin deposits. So अगर continent से आ रहे हैं, these type of deposits are generally coarse. They are coarse deposits, as in they are not very fine. They are harder, large grained, like say sand, for example. It is coarse grained deposits. Although there may be some amount of fine deposits also, but they predominantly have coarse grained deposits. Achha. Now, these shelves can vary in their width. The shelves can vary in the width. In some places, the shelf is very, very broad. In some places, the shelves may be very, very narrow, almost non-existent. The width of the shelves can vary. Okay. For example, along the Atlantic Ocean, the shelves are more than 800 kilometers from the coast. The shelves are very broad. In parts of Atlantic, the shelves are more than 800 kilometers from the coast. Okay. Whereas along the South American Pacific coast, the shelves are almost non-existent. The shelves are almost non-existent. तो शेल्फ का विड्थ जो है ये वेरी करता है. अटलांटिक ओशन में दे आर वेरी वेरी ब्रॉड. दे आर वेरी ब्रॉड शेल्फ, almost I say 1,000 kilometers. In parts of the Pacific coast of South America, it is almost non-existent. At a point here that coasts that have active trench margins, they will lack in shelves. Those which have active trench margins will lack in shelves. Whereas passive coasts, passive, P-A-S-S-I-V-E, passive coast Passive coast का मतलब है where there are no trenches. Passive coast means there are no trenches. The shelves are broader. The shelves are broader. So I have shown this diagram to all of you. Okay. Yeah, I said the trench can be at the ocean floor deep mein, or they can be near the coast. So when the trench is near the coast, we call this as an active coast. Okay, there is volcanism going on, there is a prism accumulation going on. ये active coast है. Away from the coast, यहाँ पर कोई activity है नहीं. No trenches, no volcanism, no prism. We call this as passive coast. ये active coast है, ये passive coast है. So where we have passive coast, there the shelves are much more broader. And where we have active coast, the shelves are almost non-existent. Is it okay, all of you? What I mean by passive coast and active coast? Atlantic coasts are of this type. Atlantic coast का जो margins हैं, they do not have trenches. Pacific coast of North America, South America have this type of coast. Okay? So active coast will not have shelves almost. So active coast में कैसा होगा? Okay, if this is the continent here, okay, active coast is here, the ocean trench is here, and ocean water is here. It's like edge के बाद में you directly have the deep trench. There's no shelf here. Passive coast में continent is here, slow, gradual, this, and then you have the shelf here. So active coast में you directly have the continental slope. In the passive coast, you have a shelf and then you have the coasts. Is it okay? On an average, next point. On an average, the width of the shelves are about 70 to 100 kilometers. On average, the shelves are about 70 to 100 kilometers. Write down. Because of shallow water, next point, because of shallow waters, within bracket लिखो आप, the waters are all in the photic zone. Because of shallow waters का मतलब है, the waters are all in the photic, P-H-O-T-I-C, in the photic zone. The shelves have very high biological activities. The shelves have very high biological activities. Okay. So what I'm saying is that this part of the water, this is a lot of sunlight, warm waters. Okay. And this water, because of that, a lot of biological activity goes on here. You'll have mangrove forests, you'll have lot of coral reefs formation, you'll have shallow coastal ecosystems, lot of fishing also here. You open water means all mixing going on here. Okay, so the amount of life forms found here are far less than the density of life form variety here. These are very rich in terms of ecosystems productivity. Write down. The shelves are some of the richest. The shelves are some of the richest. They are some of the richest ecologically productive zones. They are some of the richest ecologically productive zones. They will have coral ecosystems. They will have coral ecosystems and rich fishing grounds. अच्छा, ये shelf में ही क्या होगा? In some places, ये shelf है, water is here. The shelf in some places can be a bit more elevated like this. Okay, the shelf may have some elevations like this. Basically, the shelf is not a smooth surface. So wherever there are elevations, okay, local ones, we call this as continental shelf, shoals बोलते हैं. अगर ये बहुत broad होगा, we call this as, okay, banks. Okay, write down. The shelves can have, or within the shelves, there can be relatively shallower waters. Within the shelves, there can be relatively shallower waters of shoals and banks. Of shoals, S-H-O-A-L-S, of shoals and banks, which are important for fishing. Shelves can have shoals and banks, which are important. जितना shallow water होगा, उतना sunlight यहाँ पर है. Okay, good amount of nutrients, and this area can have lot of fishing, okay, prospects. Some of the most famous fishing grounds, are Grand Banks, Sable Bank, we have Dodger Bank. Dodger Bank is in North Sea along the coast of Britain and France, and Grand Bank, Sable Bank, this is along the coast of Canada, the island called as New Foundland Island, इसके पास में. Grand Banks and Sable Banks are along the coast of Canada. The island called as Newfoundland Island. Near the island called as Newfoundland Island, we have Grand Bank is among the richest banks for fishing. Grand Banks. Or Dodger Bank, okay, we have along North Sea, the European side, North Sea. And further, the shelves are also important for. Most of the world's offshore oil resources. Most of the world's offshore oil resources. Offshore oil resources. So we have oil and gas, okay, within bracket mention. Do you know some of the famous offshore oil regions of the world? Okay, and they're all shelves. Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, write down. The Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, Venezuela coast, the coast of Venezuela, Nigeria's Gulf of Guinea coast. What locations are these? The Persian Gulf is one. We have US ka Gulf of Mexico. In Venezuela, okay, the coast of Venezuela, there's a lake called as Lake Maracaibo. ये coast में ही है. We have the coast of Gulf of Guinea, the coast of Nigeria, यहाँ पर है. The North Sea is very rich in gas and also coal fields, not just oil. Okay. North Sea में भी है. Okay. Shelf region है. The Arabian Sea coasts of India. You know about Bombay High. Pakistan ka coast and Iran coast. We have this Mekran coast. Mekran coast along Pakistan. यहाँ पर oil है. Okay. You have oil resources along the Sea of Japan. Okay. Not as much, but and of course, we also have some amount of oil along the Bay of Bengal side also. Okay. So all of these are the shelf regions which are important for the oil and gas. So the shelf is very important in terms of human activities. यहाँ fishing है, यहाँ resources हैं. These are areas where we'll have ports also, shipping zones बनते हैं. Okay, so I think all fine here, all of you. What are the shelves? Where are they found? What's the nature? You can add one point here, that the origin of the shelves, ये बनते कैसे हैं? Shelves can be both tectonic or denudational. The origin can be both a tectonic origin. It can also be a denudational, as in because of erosion or deposition. It can be tectonic or it can be denudational. For example, India's western coast has tectonic shelf. India's western coast, जो Arabian Sea वाला coast है, it has a tectonic shelf. It's because of the land has sunk inside. Okay, tectonic is some large scale rising or sinking of the surface. The western side, the land has sunk inside, नीचे धस गया. Subsidence has happened. Whereas the Bay of Bengal coast or the Bay of Bengal shelf is because of deposition by the rivers. The Bay of Bengal shelf is because of the deposition by the rivers. That's why the Bay of Bengal shelf, okay, is more broader, is not as broad as, देखो, the Bay of Bengal shelf. The Bay of Bengal shelf is not as broad as the Arabian Sea shelf. Is not as broad as the Arabian Sea shelf. Just for example, just to illustrate this, so India's plateau was something like this, सोचो आप. And this is the ocean water here, and this is, say, the ocean water here. And this is all land. Okay. What happened was, for some reasons, there was a crack, okay, and this part sank inside. So what we have now is this part of the land is here, and we have the waters here, and this part has gone down. ये नीचे आ गया ऐसे. It has come down, and we have the waters are now here. So on the western side, Arabian Sea में ये काफी broad है, because ये land ही है which has gone down. On this side, it is not as broad. Okay, so the Bay of Bengal side is narrower shelf compared to the Arabian Sea side shelf of India. Don't confuse the shelf with the coastal plains. यहाँ पर coastal plains narrow है. The coastal plains are broad here, but the shelf is narrow here. The shelf is broad here. The Arabian Sea shelf is broader than the Bay of Bengal shelf of India. All fine, all of you? Okay. That's about the shelf. Now let's move on towards the next is the continental slope. The continental slope. Okay. This is shoals are smaller. Kuldeep, banks are much more broader. Remember that, relative. And both shoals and banks can be dangerous for shipping. Okay, if it is not deep enough, the ships can capsize because of collision or accidents. So just remember this: the banks are broader and the shoals are relatively narrower. Okay, the shelf. So I'm done with it. That's the water here. ये हो गया shelf. This bend is called as the continental break, and this is called as the continental slope. Okay, write down. points wise mein. The first point is, it is beyond the continental break. It is beyond the continental break. The slope is more than 6 degrees and can be as much as 11 degrees slope. The slope is 6 degrees or can be more than or almost as much as 11 degrees and more. The seaward limit of the slope, the seaward limit of the slope is the extent of the continental rocks. The seaward limit of the slope is the extent of the continental rocks. So आपको ये diagram, I hope you remember. Here, slope tak, okay, it is part of the continent. So shelf and slope both structurally are part of the continental crust. Actual ocean starts beyond the slope with a transition zone called as the continental rise. So if on this diagram I must show it, जहां तक slope है, okay, till this one, this is the continental crust. इसके beyond जो है, this is the oceanic crust. Is it okay, all of you? The seaward limit of the slope is the extension of the continental rock. So structurally, अगर देखा जाए, this actually belongs to the continents. Okay, but it is under the water. Coastal plains are not a part of the ocean floor. Coastal plains, ये land में है, ये वाला है coastal plains, where the waves have come, sand beaches यहाँ पर होंगे. This is the coastal plains. The river can deposit and form deltas here. So coastal plain is not a part of the ocean floor. Ocean floor शुरू होता है जहां से land is submerged. ठीक है? So the shelf, the slope is steeper. The slope is part of the shelf, of the continent. Right, next. The slopes are in general devoid of deposits. The slopes in general are devoid of the deposit, because steep है ना, यहाँ पे इकट्ठा कैसे होगा? How will the sediments accumulate here? So this is relatively more bare. This has accumulations. This will not have accumulations. It is devoid deposits. But see what happens is, now watch here all of you. Sediments can keep on piling up here. Rivers bring sediments, glaciers bring sediments, or waves bring sediments. And the sediments gradually will pile up here, will keep getting pushed. एक time ऐसे आएगा when the sediments will pile up here and they'll fall down as massive landslides along the slope. So these landslides are called as turbidity currents. Okay, so the slope does not have sediments, but the slopes can have turbidity currents. Write down next. The slopes are characterized by turbidity currents. Turbidity currents that are massive landslides. Associated with the sediments of the continental shelf, the sediments of the continental shelves are falling through the slopes, falling through the slopes. और ये बहुत dangerous होते हैं. These landslides can cause earthquakes. And if you remember some time ago, these are locations where a lot of underwater fiber lines are laid. Okay, a lot of connection between the continents is by those underwater fiber cables, optic cables, correct. So when the landslides fall down, these cables can snap, and it can be major reason for outages in communications also. Write down this point, within bracket mention this. The turbidity currents can be a major hazard. Currents can be a major hazard for earthquakes, and can also impact underwater communication lines. Underwater communication lines of internet connectivities. So optic fiber lines are here. Okay. So ये news में होता है. Parts of China coast, Japan coast, we have had outages because these can snap off these communication lines. Achha. Now, apart from this, what happens is, when the sediments fall, the sediments can literally dig the surface of the slope. So imagine this here. Say this is a slope here, and so this is the edge of continent. Can you all imagine this? This is a slope here. Sediments of the shelf, when they fall down, they can dig the surface and they ultimately can accumulate here. They can accumulate here. But ये जो है is like a deep cut. Okay. These deep cuts on the shelf, on the slope, are called as submarine canyons. Write down that the continental slopes can have deep vertical cuts. Dug up by the turbidity currents. They're called as submarine canyons. They're called as the submarine canyons. Draw this, please. ये water surface है. Say a river comes here. The river deposits and these are sediments that get pushed and then fall. Yeah, draw the sketch, please. Submarine canyons. All done? Now see, what we realize is the formation of canyons have long been debated. कि बनते कैसे हैं? So some of the older theories said that these canyons are like rift valleys. Realization is no, ये rift valleys नहीं है. Rift valleys as in cracks. ये cracks नहीं है. These are erosional valleys. Okay, write down. Submarine canyons. Write a subheading maybe. Submarine canyons. Write down. One of the very interesting features of the slope. One of the very interesting features of the slope. Next point. There have been different theories. There have been different theories about how canyons are formed, how such canyons. There are different theories about how such canyons are formed. Number one, considered as rift valleys, is incorrect concept. Rift valleys, ये incorrect है. Number two, considered as formed by river erosion. Formed by river erosion. Now see, what people realize is that the canyons are very much aligned with the river axis. यही river है. Along the river we have the canyon. So we have Ganga River, Ganga Canyon. Indus River, Indus Canyon. Hudson River, Hudson Canyon. Okay. Amur River, Amur Canyon. Congo River, Congo Canyon. Okay. So a lot of people thought that the canyons are because of river erosion. Now we say no, rivers cannot erode below the sea level. Okay, some of you know about the concept of base level. Okay, base level is the last level for river erosion. उसके नीचे होगा नहीं. Okay, so it is not river erosion. However, it's because of the sediments brought by the rivers. The sediments rivers लेके आ रहे हैं, but the erosion is not by river water. It's because of sediments falling through the continental slope. ठीक है? Write this point down. That river idea गलत क्यों है? Okay, because rivers cannot erode below the sea level, under the water. They cannot erode below the sea level, under the water. The maximum limit of erosion is called as the base level. The maximum limit of river erosion is called as the base level. इस sea level को ही बोलते हैं base level. इसके नीचे नहीं होगा. ठीक है? But the accepted fact is the sediments of turbidity currents, the sediments of the turbidity currents may have been brought by the rivers. May have been brought by the rivers. Therefore, most submarine canyons, the sediments of The currents have been brought by the rivers. Therefore, most submarine canyons are aligned along the axis of the rivers. Most submarine canyons are aligned along the axis of the canyons. Okay. Some examples of submarine canyons are, some of the examples of submarine canyons are Ganga Canyon, Indus Canyon, Hudson Canyon, Hudson River, New York, Hudson Canyon, Indus River, Indus Canyon, Ganga Canyon. But Ganga Canyon क्या है ना वो दिखता नहीं है. Why? Because the sediments have covered it. Okay, but there is a canyon, it's covered although. And we also have Amur Canyon, A-M-U-R, Amur Canyon, Amur River, A-M-U-R, Amur River. Okay, border of China and Russia. Okay, and we have Congo Canyon, C-O-N-G-O, Congo Canyons. So maybe one page with diagram के साथ में, what are submarine canyons, how are they formed, and some. Your book has more detail, but इतना जरूरत नहीं है. Look at history of questions. एक ही बार पूछा हुआ question है submarine canyons. Is it okay, all of you here? Fine then. That's for today. Now those who have to leave for other classes, you may leave, and the new students can also leave. I want to continue for half an hour on the biogeographical rims. And we'll make the recordings available. Those who miss it, you can always see it on the recordings. But आज ही देख लेना, any case. ठीक है? So I'm continuing the same pattern. Those who have to leave, you can leave. Maybe half an hour. I started a topic last time, want to complete that in some ways. Yeah, that's the adjustment I'm asking. Half an hour is... you not have case study today? Yes, Harsh, tell me. Not for the new students, no. The new students can leave. The older ones stay back. Yeah, take 2-3 minutes break. Prembag, it's okay. You can continue on this. From tomorrow onwards, I'll make a separate link if I have extra class. Vinay, the shoals of meandering are different from these shoals. The new students can leave. बताओ क्या डाउट है हिमांशु one class for IR, one class is left. I'll let you know. Okay, I think the class is settled now. So discussing what is the concept of biogeographical rims, Okay, so I'm continuing here. Yeah, please concentrate now. लिख लो अलग से पेज में, go back to your room and attach if you have a separate notebook. Okay, so the idea of the biogeographical realm is essentially to study the distribution of life forms, both plants and animals. And why I need this concept is because the realization that the distribution is not because of climate alone. Although climate may be a very important factor, but there are other factors also. जहां पर climate is the main factor, I've called that scheme as biomes. Now we realize that apart from climate, there can be factors related to tectonics, the factors related to mountain barriers, the factors related to local evolutionary processes, the factors because of migrations also. So when I account for all of this together, I call the scheme of patterns of life form distribution as the biogeographical realms. Udeshil, I'm continuing. Yes, I'm continuing live. Okay. So this is the idea. Okay. How is the concept of biogeographical realms different from the concept of the biomes? Having said this, what is the scheme? I've told you there are many schemes, all of which you cannot remember objectively, so I gave you a generic scheme. Okay, so I hope you remember. We have the Nearctic, we have Palearctic, Neotropical, African or Ethiopian, Oriental or South Asia, Australian, Antarctic. ये नाम याद है आपको all of you? So, Nearctic, this is Palearctic, Australian, this is Oriental, this is African or Ethiopian, this is Neotropical. These three together I can call as Paleotropical. Okay. This whole thing is Holo-Arctic, and this whole thing is Holotropical. यहाँ तक ठीक है all of you? So people confuse Paleotropical as Holotropical. No. Paleotropical is the old world of tropics. When I add Paleotropic and Neotropic, I get Holotropical. ठीक है all of you? And Antarctic is separate. Then we said there are transition zones. Remember? Mexican transition, Sahara transition, Chinese transition, Indo-Malayan transition, New Zealand transition, Cape transition, and Patagonia transition. There are 7 transition zones. The Mexican, the Sahara, the Chinese, the Patagonia, the Cape province, the Cape Rim, and New Zealand. I think this is what we have done. Okay. Now, there are certain modifications. Okay. ये है generic. आप इसको नहीं भूलोगे आप. ये generic है. Okay. Now, a very important point is that the biogeographical realms can be for plants and can be for animals. दोनों के लिए सेम अप्लाइज. एक डिफरेंस ये होगा, फॉर द एनिमल्स वी विल नॉट कंसिडर एंटार्क्टिक रेम. अंडरस्टैंडेबल, राइट? ज्यादा एनिमल्स है नहीं यहां पर. सम पेंगुइन, वॉलरस, दैट्स अबाउट इट. ओके, सो फॉर एनिमल्स वी इग्नोर एंटार्क्टिक रेम. And because we ignore Antarctic rim, therefore, we'll not talk about Patagonia transition, we'll not talk about Cape transition, and we'll not talk about New Zealand transition. यही फर्क है. Of course, there are some modifications, आप वो छोड़ दो आप. So if they ask you biogeographical realms of the plants, आप सारा बनाना. If they ask you biogeographical realms for animals, leave these 4 and draw the rest. ठीक है all of you? Because Antarctica rim है ही नहीं, तो transition कहां से आएगा? So for animals, we don't talk about Patagonia transition, we don't talk about Cape transition or the New Zealand transition. याद रहा आपको all of you? Okay, so minus the Antarctic transition zones. So that's one fact. Okay, generic scheme and the modifications. The third one, for animals, for the fauna, the most famous one is the A.R. Wallace scheme. ये सबसे famous है. तो कुछ नहीं आया, you mention Wallace साहब का scheme. The most famous scheme, A.R. Wallace. In fact, he is the man who made the concept more popular. Like Wallace. इसके अलावा, there are 2 more schemes, just know their names. One is, okay, Slater scheme. This is for birds. For birds. और एक है scheme given by Schmidt. SCHMIDT, Schmidt. Schmidt's scheme. Schmidt's scheme is same as Wallace. 2-3 नाम चेंज कर दिया इन्होंने. Okay. Minor differences we don't care. Okay. उतना full marks नहीं चाहिए हमें. Schmidt is same as Wallace. What he has done is, look what Wallace has done. We have Nearctic, Palearctic, Neotropical, African, Oriental, Australian. Antarctic तो है ही नहीं. What he has done is, he has put these together and is called these as Arctogean. Okay? Arctogean. He calls this as Neogene rim, and he has called this as Notogean rim. In one of the papers, they had asked, write a short note on Notogean rim. Basically, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ही पूछ रहे थे. ठीक है? How I remember this is S for Schmidt, S for Superman, ठीक है? और ये है सुपरमैन का चड्डी. ठीक है? अब नहीं भूलोगे आप लोग. You find some quirky ways to remember whatever you can. Notogean याद रहेगा, Neogene and Octogean. All fine? So these are the names of the fauna schemes. लिखना आपको एक ही वाला है. Remaining you play with the names. Then there is the flora schemes. Flora schemes. Flora में, okay, now you know you must add all the rems, including Antarctica and the Antarctic transition zones add करो. Okay. The more famous ones, one was given by Newbigin. ये पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है. What is Newbigin's? Okay, biogeographical rems. Newbigin scheme. और एक है the more later one, ये 80s में हुआ था, given by Taktjan, Taktjan, Taktjan scheme. My suggestion, वो कुछ भी पूछे आप लिख क्या होगे generic. You just have to change the names wherever required. Newbigin scheme and Taktjan scheme. 1 minute. Yeah, एक angular scheme भी है. Yeah. One more is angular scheme. Anglers. But doesn't matter. Okay, they ask any three of them, you'll write the entire scheme. Now I'll demonstrate कि लिखोगे कैसे इसके बारे में. See if they ask you, okay, and they not ask you all of them. I think the popular one जो पूछ सकता है, they can ask you Indian or the Oriental one, South Asian one, Australia पूछा हुआ है, also called as Notogean. एक बार Ethiopian पूछा हुआ है, is nothing but African, and they can ask you maybe either Nearctic पूछ लेगा और पहले Arctic पूछेगा. This has been asked. This has been asked. This is possible they can ask you. Okay. And either of this. It's not tough. What you do is, take up the continent and tell us what are the biomes. Ultimately, all the rems are essentially biomes, right? So if they ask you, write a note on Nearctic biome or Nearctic rem. Nearctic rem is North America. It has tundra biome, it has taiga biome, it has the desert biome, it has the biome of the humid mid-latitudes, which is an Laurentian biome, जो भी पता है आपको 2-3, and you are done with it. And for each biome, tell us where they are with some details of the landform, so the life form and species. So taiga forest, coniferous forest, बताओ क्या है? Tundra regions, inuits, mosses, lichens, बताओ वो क्या है? Deserts में xerophytic है, what type of adaptations, and you're on. Okay, so what you do is, so I'm demonstrating. demonstrating, writing about the biogeographical realms. Okay, so let me take up and show you how you write for, okay, the Australian. Say Australian, also called as Notogean. ठीक है, कुछ भी क्वेश्चन पूछेगा, what you do is you divide the answer into first explain the concept, then give, देखो, it's a formula write up for a very difficult topic. Okay, so I do not need to study everything in detail. मुझे जो पता है उतना तो लिख दूंगा मैं. So start with कि the concept of biogeographical realm is for studying the life form distribution. While climate is the most important factor, there are other factors also, and say 4 or 5 lines on that. Okay, the biogeographical realms, there are many schemes. The most famous one is, okay, Wallace or Newbigin, or the famous scheme given by Schmidt. So agar Notogean bolega, you start with Schmidt. What did he say? So according to Schmidt, there are 3 main, which is Artogean, Neogean, Notogean, Australian. फिर जो बताना बताओ आप. So talk about the concept, talk about the generic scheme. Then you mention the specific one asked. ये specific one asked में आपको 3 काम करना है. Tell us the location where it is. Location का मतलब है which continent, which countries बता दो. Okay, Australia, Australian country and the continent. Neogean, it is South America and the countries are. 5-6 बता ही सकते हो आप. ब्राजील है, पेरू है, अर्जेंटीना है, चिली and so on. So location in terms of continents and countries बता देना. Then tell us what are the biomes. Notogean rim has the following 4 main biomes. It has the mountain biome, it has a savanna biome, it has a desert biome, it has a Mediterranean biome, it has, okay, the temperate, okay, forests of Tasmania. So what are the biomes bata do. And for the biomes, you detail for some life forms. जो तो पता है आपको. Okay, tropical area है, hot deserts हैं, xerophytic है, okay, Mediterranean है, it is citrus fruits. So whatever you know, 2, 3, 4 points. My point is, इसके लिए अलग से पढ़ने मत बैठ जाना. I just want 1 page write up with some diagrams, with examples, and I am home. That's all. Okay. And then, where required, explain how the REM developed and became unique. How did Australian REM develop? कैसे develop हुआ? Because during the Mesozoic times, it's separated from the rest of Gondwana land. The life forms evolved, okay, not along with the large carnivorous mammals, therefore marsupials are left. Okay. Therefore monotremes are left. How did South America develop? Because it joined with North America later on, not much of intermixing, migrations, deserts, so it has become different from North America. How did North American develop? It was Arctic zone linked to Eurasian mainland in the ice age, and the migrations happened. याद आ रहा है कुछ points here? Whatever I've discussed, the 4 point example दिया था मैंने आपको. So tell us how that unique, okay, REM has developed, and then conclusions. Conclusions, my suggestion is write about few lines on Indian REM. Okay, conclusion में 3-4 lines में. Okay, the Indian rim belongs to Oriental, unique because of Himalayas, unique because of the water bodies, and I'll tell something more about Indian. Usko add kar dena. That's all. This is your formula answer for any biogeographical rim. Ho jayega all of you? Yes. That's why I taught the biomes in a bit more detail to all of you. If you know the biomes, you'll not stop. हाँ तो अगर पैलियोट्रॉपिकल पूछता भी है, then write all the three together. अफ्रीका भी, अगर अफ्रीका पूछा, इथियोपियन पूछा, Africa is south of Sahara. Africa includes Mediterranean, Equatorial, Savanna and the monsoons. अब पता है टाइटल में आपको कहां पर हाई फील्ड्स हैं, कहां पर कालाहारी डेजर्ट है, what type of trees are found there, what type of adaptation savanna, okay, they have forest fires and so on. याद आ रहा है आपको? उतना काफी है, that's all. And Africa में 4-5 एनिमल्स का नाम तो पता ही होगा यार. Okay, जिराफ, चीता, टाइगर. You know a bit more about Namibian leopards. लिख डालो उनके बारे में. चीता, write about them. Namibian cheetah and so on. ठीक है? So you don't have to go deep. See, this is how you manage some of the answers. And it's a good answer. Trust me. लिख के देखो. You will struggle to keep it within one page. ठीक है? Start with the concept. What is biogeographical rims? Briefly draw the generic scheme. Diagram बना दो. Mention some names. The specific जो पूछा उसके बारे में लिखो. Location, biomes and species. And how it developed. How did Africa develop? For Africa developed, I'll say Africa was part of Gondwana land. So African rim has some commonality in South America and Australia. But Africa is separated from the Palearctic by the Sahara Desert. Africa is different from Australia because it's separated out. Africa is different from South America, but there is some similarity because they have been together for a longer time. And following are the biomes of Africa. That's about it. Is it okay, all of you? Yeah, online. Can you manage this? इसे पढ़ा दिया मैंने already. I've explained this also. 4 point लिखा हुआ देखो. Biomes I've done in detail, whatever you required. I've explained the generic one and I've given the concept also. Yeah, all can manage now? Write down. Give a heading. Give a heading. Biogeographical rims of India. Biogeographical rims of India. Five, 6 points. Number one, that India is part of the Oriental Biogeographical Rim or South Asian, part of Oriental or South Asian Biogeographical Rim. One. Number two, it has much in commonality with African or Ethiopian rim. It has much in commonality with African or Ethiopian rim. Because South Asia was among the last to break from Gondwana land. It was among the last to have broken from Gondwana land. So, बहुत commonalities हैं. Okay, you can see elephants in Africa, elephants in South Asia. Tiger, lion in Africa. Okay, Asiatic lions in India. Okay, we have got large mammals. We have monkeys. The type of herbivores like donkeys and asses. काफी commonality है, right? अच्छा, उसके बाद में down. Indian rim developed uniquely. Because of following 3 factors. Commonality है पर फिर भी unique बना. Number 1 is its monsoon climate was unique. Its monsoon climate was unique. So typical species बने आपके sal trees, teak trees. Okay, ये representative है. Sandal wood trees, neem, khair. They are special trees adapted for monsoon type of climate. Yes, jamun. In fact, jamun is considered to be one of the most unique species of South Asia. Okay, India was called as Jambudweep, yes, because of jamun, blackberries. Okay, so that's one. The second reason is its relative isolation from rest of the world because of Himalayas. Its relative isolation from rest of the world because of the Himalayas. And third is its isolation because of its peninsular location. Isolation because of Himalayas, and next is isolation because of the peninsular location. The water on three sides again makes it unique. However, next one, however, it has the influence of African rim, Indo-Malayan rim, African rim, Indo-Malayan rim, Chinese rim, because of its locations. Because of its location. Okay? So Indo-Malayan ke bhi, there are some similarities that we find in India. Chinese because across the Himalayas, and African because of its evolutionary breakup in the geological processes. Right, next, right down. That the characteristic vegetation and fauna, is the wetter type of savanna, is that of the wetter type of savanna that encourages deciduous species, comma, large mammals because of semi-arid conditions, deciduous species of trees and large mammals because of its semi-arid conditions. Next, write down. Local factors have also influenced. Like Himalayan climate, desert climate of Western Northern Plains, the island territories, and the influence of coastal locations. See, within India itself, we have got variations. Himalayas wala alag hai compared to the life forms of Andaman Nicobar Islands, compared to life forms of deserts of Rajasthan and so on. So within also we have variations. And I said down that Oriental rim is one of the most modified rims. Oriental rim is one of the most modified rims because of a long history of agriculture and modifications by human activities. Because of a long history of agriculture and modification because of human activities. Okay, species like potato, melon fruits, the watermelon, muskmelon, melon fruits, tea and coffee, potato, melon fruits, tea and coffee, spices like cloves, long. Clove is not in Indian origin. It's clove is mostly from Eastern Africa. You know about Zanzibar and Tanzania. So, but cloves have been brought into India. The tea and coffee is not Indian. Coffee from Arabia and tea has come from parts of China. Okay. So, these are some of those modifications we have introduced. Okay. So, I said modifications like potato. Potato come from Andes. Melon fruits again comes from parts of Mexico. Okay. We talk about tea and coffee. Okay. We talk about spices like cloves. Okay. Rubber. Rubber भी Indian endemic नहीं है. Rubber is from Brazil. Brazil, yes. Rubber. Okay. Maize. Maize also not Indian. Maize comes from parts of, again, partly from the American rims and also from parts of Central Asia. Okay. Maize. And in recent times, the introduction of oil seeds, soya bean, okay, a tomato. Tomato is not Indian. Vilayati bagan bolte hain, right? As in European brinjal. That's the local name for tomato. So actually you go by indigenous varieties of India, you will be in trouble. ज़्यादा कुछ खा नहीं पाओगे फिर. Okay. Yeah, millets. वो भी सारे millets नहीं. Okay. Even jawar is not typically Indian. Okay. Jawar का main home is again China. Okay. Sorghum. Yes, correct. ठीक है. So anyways, we have a range. So all of these factors are modified. Peru, Colombia, yes. Peru is more important for potatoes. Andean, yes, correct. Right, next. Rice is Indian, but not all varieties of rice. Okay. India में ही काफी सारे rice range है. Okay. Wheat is not Indian. Wheat again Central Asia, barley Central Asia है. I'll come towards that when discussing gene pool centers. अभी बस जान लो, the REM has been modified. Okay. और लास्ट मॉडिफिकेशंस में तो हमने ऐड कर दिया नेमीबियन चीता ऐड कर दिया, राइट? ठीक है. हाँ, कुनो नेशनल पार्क. Head down. The following are the 10 biogeographical realms of India. The following are the 10 biogeographical realms of India. Take a list. Trans-Himalayan rim. Trans-Himalayan rim. इसमें काराकोरम, लद्दाख. Okay. Trans-Himalayan rim. Number 2 is Western Himalayas. Western Himalayas. Next is Eastern Himalayas, including Purvanchal Hills. East Himalayas, including Purvanchal Hills. Naga Hills, Mizo Hills. Yeah. So, Purvanchal Hills. Number 3 is, or number 4 is, a Western dry region and deserts. Western dry region and deserts. Semi-arid regions of Rajasthan. Next is semi-arid regions of Rajasthan. ये अरावलीज के साथ में है. इंटायर राजस्थान एक डेजर्ट नहीं है. ओके, डेजर्ट्स आर एक्सट्रीम वेस्ट में है. बीकानेर, जैसलमेर, रेस्ट ऑफ राजस्थान हैज savanna type of climate. Locally it's called as Bagad climate, B-A-G-A-R. Let me write down. The semi-arid regions of Rajasthan also called as Bagad, B-A-G-A-R. Bagad or savanna climates of Rajasthan. They're along the stretch of Aravallis के साथ में जो है, okay, on the western side of Aravallis. Okay, Bagad regions, semi-arid regions. Next is northern Ganga plains, including UP, Bihar, Bengal. UP, Bihar, Bengal. Next is Western Ghats and plains, Eastern Ghats and plains, Western Ghats and plains, number 7. Eastern Ghats and plains, number 8. The next is the peninsular plateau, which is the Deccan region south of India's. The peninsular plateau, which is the Deccan region south of Vindhyas. And the 10th is island territories. The 10th is island territories. No questions asked on Indian biogeographical realms. Okay, but you have a sense of, okay, syllabus में innocently 3-4 words हैं. Okay, factors in the distribution of plants, animals. Factors क्या है, pattern क्या है, India specific I'm adding so that you have some sense. Yes, ये सारे topics leave the technical part like Wallace हटा दो, Eng हटा दो, otherwise very much part of your GS also. Indian part definitely yes. ठीक है, that's for today. Okay, so we'll do this a couple of times, okay? Half an hour, 45 minutes. I can finish off your environment biogeography also then. Okay. Yeah, today, those who are in the integrated class, you have your test discussion today at 4 o'clock. Yeah. Okay then. Bye. Online, offline.